Hey everybody, Questwise here, and today I want to do a little review of a game that I sort of came to late in my gaming career. It's a game that I've known about for a very long time, but I didn't really know anybody. I had a copy of an earlier edition, like way earlier edition, and had read it over and I really enjoyed the themes, but didn't really have anybody who locally that knew how to play or that I knew who played. The fifth edition version of that came out, and I found a group that was willing to teach me how to play. And it was one of those games that really challenged my intelligence, really challenged my skills as a role player, and I loved it. And so today I want to talk about the newest edition, and that is Shadowrun Sixth World. Uh, Interesting game, right? If you don't know anything about this, this is a cyberpunk game that also incorporates magic and different fantasy races. So it's set in the future when this event happens that brings back magic and metahumans. So things like dwarves and trolls and elves are now all playable races in the game. But the game is very cyberpunk in its theme, as well as there's the ability to use magic as to cast spells, as well as they call them adepts that can use magic inside their bodies to enhance their abilities and stuff as well too. This is a game that's very complex. This is a very crunchy game, but that I really enjoyed the aspect of it that it sort of you're going as a shadow runner, which is what your player plays, a character you play in the game. You're taking on jobs, usually from an anonymous person called Mr. Johnson. And there's these giant corporations that now run the world, and you're usually fighting back against them, doing these jobs for money or for gear for this anonymous person. Not always anonymous, but generally an anonymous person. And doing it through hacking into the matrix, or going on supply runs, or missions that are very cyberpunk in nature, as well as some security measures might incorporate both technological defenses as well as magical defenses and stuff as well too. And so I was really impressed by the idea that we spent whole sessions sitting down and simply preparing for the actual adventure. And I thought that was really, really cool. I like the crunch of the fact that there was tons of options of things to prepare for. People I had to go and talk to, and as a group we had to try to work out these different pieces, put them all together before we could actually make the actual run, the actual adventure that we were going on. It's very crunchy in the fact that there's a lot of stuff that you have to keep track of, things like weapons and gear and equipment and all this kind of stuff. There's a lot of not so much number crunching, but there's a lot of point buy things that you're dealing with all the time in this game. Though the dice mechanic is very, very simple, I find it to be, like I said, very challenging to my intelligence, but I really, really enjoyed my run at the game. And so when 6th edition came out, or the Sixth World as they're calling it, came out, I jumped on this to check it out and see how it is, because I was told that this game is a streamlined version of 5th edition and some of the previous editions as well too, and it is a bit. I will go into details about how it's changed from 5th edition to 6th World in just a minute. But my overall impression of the game, of the book itself, the physical qualities of the book, are very, very well done. The artwork is always on par. It's always really, really nice. The pages are very glossy. They're very functional. The layout is very, very nice. It's easy to read. But one of the things that I found in this game is that character creation can be a real pain in the neck sometimes, unless you have an app or some sort of computer program that will help you build characters that just sort of takes into account all the things that you're doing. Because character creation process is very detailed, and there's a lot of numbers to keep track of, and point by things that you're doing. and a lot going on with it. It takes a long time. Now, it's not the most difficult character creation process I've ever had. I would say that award probably goes to Burning Wheel. Um, but I loved it. I love the character creation process in Burning Wheel. This one, a little bit more tedious, but if you're a hardcore Shadowrun fan, it's not going to bother you. It's actually been streamlined a bit. So let me go into detail a little bit about what's changed in between 5th edition and the 6th world. Um, First and foremost, there used to be in 5th edition a limit to the number of successes that you could gain in any particular role. Those limits are gone now. The sky's the limit when it comes to the number of successes that you can generate from die rolls. Combat's been simplified a bit. Things like recoil and accuracy and all these things that made combat really a slower slog have all been added into attack ratings for certain weapons. So if a weapon has recoil, rather than trying to calculate that separately, it's all just rolled into the attack modifier for the weapons now. The matrix has been simplified. Before, it was this was a very hard concept to get your mind around, of how the matrix worked and how to interact with it, either via augmented reality or virtual reality. There's a lot of rules on the matrix, and it's been simplified a bit. The hacking skill basically covers everything now. If you're trying to hack into the matrix, you're trying to do something, rather than all these other steps you had to take, hacking covers all of that sort of stuff now. Skills have been streamlined. I'm not sure if I'm really happy about that. Before, there used to be dozens and dozens and dozens of skills that you could choose from. Now there are 19 with sort of minor intricacies in between each one now as well too. So they're sort of broad categories that kind of break down as you use them. The equipment list, which I found really, really awesome about 5th edition, because there was tons of it, right? Everything from bioware that you can put into your body, to weapons, to all that kind of stuff, which this game does still hold on to pretty tightly. The fact that if you don't have your gear written down, or you don't have it purchased, you don't have it, that kind of thing. If you're really into sort of gear management and that kind of stuff, you're going to love this game. But it's been streamlined a bit. I'm hoping that there'll be a source book in the future for that. I believe there was for 5th edition as well too, but I hope to see more gear selections and weapons and that kind of lists, maybe in a further source book. Edge, which is sort of like the hero points of this game, has been greatly increased. The way that you can use those things. They've actually created tokens for it now, poker chips, that you can use in the game. And I purchased these separately. They don't come with the core rulebook, but you can buy them separately. It comes with a dice pack as well too. It is a D6 system, if you're wondering, and you can use just regular D6s. These are the special ones from them. So the 6s have the Shadowrun symbol on them, and the ones which are bad in this game have a little skull on it as well. But so these came with the dice pack. Comes also with these edge tokens, which are really nice. They're heavy poker chip style. They're pink. On one side it has the Shadowrun symbol in kind of a glitchy kind of form, and on the other side it has a skull in the same kind of glitchy type style, which I thought was pretty cool. I've heard a lot of people online say they didn't like it. Looked like they were blurry, but I think I get it. It's supposed to be that sort of glitchy style of looking at a computer screen. So they've expanded the way the edge can be used for a lot of different things, rerolls and activating traits and abilities and stuff as well. So that's been greatly expanded. They want you to use more of that kind of stuff to make it feel much more of a heroic type, game as well too. And magic's been tweaked slightly. Magic still works pretty much the same as it did in earlier editions. But you don't. It's been modified a little bit to make it a little bit easier to understand, a little bit easier to run. This is a game that I think, at least for me, and then the way that I like to run games, is a little bit too crunchy. And it's not in a bad way. It's a game like Burning Wheel that I want to master eventually. But it's one of those games I think you have to sort of have the right group for and work your way through adding complexity as you go, which is not a bad thing if you're really into crunchy, complex games. I think I would much prefer to play in a game of Shadowrun than to actually run it. I think the game master has a lot on their plate to know and to remember and to keep track of in a Shadowrun kind of campaign. Which for me, I would love to run this game eventually, but I think it's going to be a long time, and I would slowly work my way into it and add complexity as I go, so that I'm sort of learning, as I play, even though I've read the book. I think there's a lot of that stuff that you have to keep track of and put together and make sure fits correctly, that I would want to sort of experience through play as I'm doing so. But yeah, Shadowrun is definitely one of those games I would prefer to play and then not run. But if you like crunchy games like Burning Wheel, or you like Pathfinder, this is a great game, especially if you're looking for something that is very much, cyberpunk kind of themed kind of idea. Now, there's a new cyberpunk game coming out from R. Talsorian Games soon. I believe it's this month or beginning of next year. And I will be doing a comparison of the two once I get that one as well, too. So until next time, I am Questwise. This is Shadowrun, and I am out. Hey there, fellow questing knights. If you're looking to collect vintage RPGs, or would like to start and you don't know where to go, or if you're looking for a supplement to fill in that hole in your collection, I highly recommend Wayne's Books. Yeah, that's right. Wayne's Books, since 2002, have sold thousands of vintage RPGs. I highly recommend them. I've used them in the past, and I have nothing but 100% satisfaction with their service. So if you get a chance, swing on over to Wayne's Books and pick up everything you'll need vintage RPG-wise. I'm Questwise, and until next time, I am out.